Well, it sure took them long enough. What's up, everybody? It's Alex, and all jokes aside about one-mana planeswalkers and free blue spells, we've got bigger fish to fry. We have an entire core set to get through. Yes, we are almost halfway through our core set 2019 limited set review. We are on to the black cards. If you haven't already, definitely go back and check out the white and the blue review so far. For those playing along at home, there are 3 spirits in this set. Just thought I'd point that out. There's a whole lot of, if you have X number of a certain tribal type that makes this card good, it's surprising just how few of those actually exist in this set, and we'll get to one in black tonight, no less. But a couple of quick notes before we dive right into our first black card. As I've already mentioned so far in the reviews we've done for blue and white, I'm not doing an actual grade this time. I'm not giving them like a letter or number or some, just arbitrary symbol to, denote some sort of grade. I'm really just kind of giving my just overall thoughts on the cards, because as I mentioned so far, the delta between a good limited card and a bad limited card is very much starting to close. Obviously, you have some cards that are just straight unplayable, like we'll get to in here in just a couple minutes. But typically, most of these cards I can make at least an argument for playing. Some cards in the past, with previous sets, just wouldn't even cut, wouldn't even cut it in the worst limited deck. So let's keep that in mind, and I'm just going to be giving kind of my initial opinion on the card, how far I would take it into like a draft, whether or not it's going to make my sealed decks and things like that. So more just abstract thoughts and sort of, instead of, like I said, an alphanumeric value to rate how good a card is. But let's dive right in. We have Abnormal Endurance, a 1 black instant at common that until the end of the turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. This is actually a pretty sweet combat trigger, especially if you've got something that you're trying to get just, if it's, effectively this is a removal spell. If your opponent makes a bad block or they block to trade and you fire this off, maybe you take down the bigger threat that they had on the board, or just really whatever it's going to be. But to get this back at the end of the turn, like this is a really, or just immediately, a really powerful effect here. There aren't a ton of ETB effects in this set, but this is a really good limited combat trick for black. It's very flavorful, things coming back to from the graveyard in black. I can see taking this in a really aggressive, maybe like black-red or black-white aggressive deck. Might make my sealed pools depending on how the rest of my black pool obviously looks. But typically I want my black decks to be a little bit more removal heavy. And while this does pass, I need to have some good creatures that are actually going to get some value out of this as well. So iffy on this one. Solid trick, but not much more than that. Next up we have Blood Divination. Looks like Divination actually has some competition in this set. 3 black gets you a sorcery at uncommon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you sacrifice a creature and then draw 3 cards. Maybe I combo this with Abnormal Endurance. I'm not sure here. 3 cards is a lot of value in limited games. Your draft or sealed, this is a very powerful effect. Sacrificing a creature, which is a very black thing to do. If you've got cards that can use, maybe they've been locked down by a blue removal spell. The shrink spell, that makes the creature basically worthless at that point. Or if you have a token that's not doing anything that you've got somehow, this is a really powerful card and something to just get value out of something that has effectively no more value in it whatsoever. So this is a powerful card right here. Only the more mid-rangey, controlling black decks will want this, draft and sealed specifically. You won't play this in a lot of aggressive decks unless you just have a really go-wide strategy and you just need to find that last piece of maybe removal or a pump spell to break through the line. But there's a definite cost, obviously, to playing this spell. You just need a little bit of fodder to go along with it. So definitely the more mid-rangey controlling black decks will want this more than your average aggressive black deck. Moving right along to Bog Stomper. The 6 mana commons in this set just kind of blow my mind at times. But this guy is a 4 black common beast who's apparently a very gentle herbivore, apparently according to Vivian Reed, who we'll get to later on in the review. 6/5. horribly underwhelming, but does the job. This is something that I want to put into my mid-ranges black decks. The aggressive decks will not touch this whatsoever. If I need a good 6-drop to close out the game, this is going to do it. These are Titan-esque stats here, just without any sort of, whiz-bang ability attached to it. And in limited, sometimes that's fine. And this guy backed up by abnormal endurance or any other combat tricks and removal spells to take out your opponent's creatures. This guy will probably end games for you. I don't want to take a bunch of these in my draft decks or play it in sealed, but for top end, you could do a lot worse at common, I think. Moving right along to something that needs literally no support. Well, it needs some support. Bone Dragon here. 3 black, Dragon Skeleton. I think this is only the second one. Nope, I could be wrong. Skithrix is one. There's probably some other ones I can't remember. But Mythic Rare, 5/4 flying. Pretty solid stats already, but it's the ability that just kicks this thing into another level here. 3 black, exile 7 other cards from your graveyard, return Bone Dragon from your your graveyard to the battlefield. So as the game goes on, as the attrition battle starts to grind out, much like black decks want to do limited, this becomes a very real threat. And if you have the ability to put cards into your graveyard, whether you're using Blood Divination to sacrifice creatures or some of the other black effects that put cards into your graveyard, this could do some serious damage. I mean, I could even see, some of the blue mill spells kind of fueling this a little bit, but this is a really powerful card. And effectively, as long as you've got cards to, delve here, you can keep bringing this thing back, and that's instant speed right there. Now, not many things can take this guy down by, flat out, other black cards. So this thing's pretty powerful. I would gladly first pick this in a draft. I'll put it in every black sealed deck. I might not be able to activate the ability on it multiple times, but just pure stats alone, this is Sarah Angel plus. This is a really powerful black card and something I would not be opposed to having in any black deck that I'm playing. Really, really cool stuff here. Probably not going to break into any other formats, but you never know. Graveyard mechanics seem to be Wizard's pitfalls, so maybe they mess one up too. Next up, we have got a returning favorite, Child of Night. This is a 1 and a black. I'm going to get the spacing on the screen here right eventually. 1 and a black creature vampire common. It's a 2/1 with a lifelink. Bread and butter magic cards here. Every black deck I draft or build and sealed will probably want some number of these. It's gonna keep my life total high. It's gonna trade occasionally, and if I have some pump spells and I'm in more aggressive decks, I can definitely see this going the distance here. So I like cards like this. Again, they're bread and butter. There's nothing flashy about it, but in a pinch, Child of Night can do a lot of damage and it'll keep your life total high so you can close the games out. Next up, we have Death Baron, which has got to be some of the most metal names ever. This guy hasn't been around since like M19, I want to say. Like, this guy is kind of old school in that regard. Used to be super expensive too. 1 black zombie wizard, rare, 2/2 that gives other skeletons and other zombies you control +1/+1 and have death touch. So you know what time it is, guys? It's time for another count. So we have our zombie and skeleton count. So make sure we go back. Have we missed any so far? Yes, we have the dragon. Okay, dragon is 1. All right. We're already off to a better start than our spirits were. So obviously, Death Baron counts for himself, but you need another one. Let's go ahead and count him on the zombie and skeleton scoreboard. By himself, he's super underwhelming. 3-mana 2/2s are nothing to Scott, are absolutely embarrassing to play. You can do so much better. Now, if you manage to first pick this and then draft the zombie skeleton deck, which we're going to find out if there's enough in this form, in this set to do that, you might have something. But I think where this guy's actually going to find a home is going to be in standard, where you have things going alongside this, like Lord of the Accursed, the black-white zombie. We still have a couple of zombies left over from Amonkhet before the whole format just kind of rotates out and makes Death Baron probably more just a casual card at that. But cool stuff here. I like seeing this. And yeah, we'll see how many we can get to in our little counter here. But moving right along, we have Demon of Catastrophes, 2 black, 6/6. Woof! What's the drawback, you ask? Well, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, but it makes up for that by having flying and trample. The good old flample, as I like to call it. Also a rare here. This thing is just like bonkers powerful here. You know, when you've got cheap creatures like Child of Night sitting around and just other cheap, do-nothing creatures that have already gotten stonewalled, I will happily slam this on the board. Think of it as like an extra 2-mana down payment earlier in the game. So this is a really powerful card. Flying and trample is no joke and limited. Trampling flyers will end games super quick, and this is coming down faster than most of, a lot faster than some of the better blue and white flyers, and really only gets blocked up by some of the bigger red and gold colored dragons. This thing is busted powerful for limited. I will happily first pick in an aggressive black deck. I will play this in mid-rangey black sealed pools. Always happy to see Demon Catastrophes. Just gotta make sure you got a little something to pay the toll. Next up, we've got Diregraph Ghoul, another throwback to Innistrad, and a core piece of the mono black zombie deck that I was a big fan of back in the day. A single black mana gets you an uncommon 2/2 zombie that enters the battlefield. 3. There's the battlefield tapped. 1-mana 2/2s are certainly plenty powerful. I don't know how many of these I will want unless I'm in a very aggressive low to the ground black deck. If I've got Death Baron, I will gladly pick up as many of these as possible. Being uncommon, you're going to see them a lot less often than you might like. So black aggressive decks especially will want this, and that's about it. Black, white, black, red. There's definitely, just from the few cards we've seen so far, a very aggressive black-based, undead zombie skeleton type deck. So we'll be looking for more cards in the rest of this set, and really kind of figuring out where we can, find the inroads to make this deck work. So Diregraph Ghoul only really goes in one direction, but when all you want to do is tap a guy, he's already halfway there for you. Next up, we've got Doomed Dissenter coming down to us from Amonkhet, I believe. 1 in a black, common 1/1 human. When it dies, create a 2/2 black zombie. Oh, I'm going to give that a half. I think we can do that as a half. So we'll do, half a zombie count right there. Up to 3.5 now. I like this card a whole lot. I believe he was also in Battle Bond, if I'm not mistaken. 2-mana 1/1s that leave behind value is just good magic cards right there. Like, I will take this guy pretty highly, again, in that black aggressive deck, or some kind of a black-white, maybe like a sacrifice deck. There's a lot of things going on here that makes this guy really powerful. Even slower mid-rangey black decks will like having Doom Dissenter here, just for that extra value of having the body left behind once this thing has blocked, and maybe you get to go on the offensive at some point with the token. Definitely a mid-pack pick for me in drafts, and I definitely want to be in an archetype that can take advantage of it here as well. I wish there was like a sacrifice outlet deck as well, but from what I've seen so far, one just doesn't really exist, unfortunately. So we'll keep looking, and maybe it actually exists somewhere. Next up, we've got Duress. More just bread and butter magic cards, ladies and gentlemen. A single black sorcery at common. Target opponent reveals their hand, and you take a non-creature, non-land card out of it, and they discard that card. Don't put this in your decks. Unless your opponent shows you just an absolute bomb of a card like a Planeswalker, or just something that you just can't deal with otherwise. I can see you maybe wanting to board this in, but you certainly don't want to fire this off as soon as you draw it. You want to wait until like the turn before they can play, the big threat, the Planeswalker or whatever it was. That way you maximize your chances of them actually having drawn it at some point. So this is much better for constructed, standard, modern, we'll play the cards like this. But 9 times out of 10, I would not put this anywhere close to either one of my draft or my sealed decks. This next guy, though, the Epicure of Blood, 4 in a black 4/4 vampire at common. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses life. This guy is crazy powerful, despite being a little expensive. Now, the black-white draft and sealed decks is a life gain or a life gaining based archetype, and so we've seen things like Child of Night. We'll see even more life linkers and more sort of life gain spells in black, and then there's even one in black white that's actually very, very powerful that we'll get to eventually. So this guy could just go the distance and is like a little black fireball who just, every time you get in that life, it's one more tick until your opponent just passes out because, well, all their blood's gone. I'm also a sucker for like Bloodborne kind of esque art here, and seeing these big gothic castles speaks to me in a way that just, you know, kind of chills me to the bone actually. So Epicure of Blood, and just 4/4 beaters for 5. Awesome stats as well. A little bit overcosted, but the effect on it, I can definitely see as being powerful in your limited and draft decks. Next up, we've got Fell Spectre. I love a good Spectre. 3 in a black, uncommon, 1/3 Spectre, flying. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card, and whenever your opponent discards a card, that player loses 2 life. I'm going to have to go through and really pick out the cards that say discard a card for your opponent. Otherwise, this thing just isn't really worth it. You're going to get a one-time effect of 2 life just for the body, and the stats are other impressive other than that. And being 4 mana really hurts this guy a lot, so more mid-rangey controlling black decks might want this maybe in multiples, just kind of come up the sky until they can find like their big finisher, like the dragon we've already seen, or the 6/5 common beast that might be able to do some work there. Not super impressed with this card. Typically black flyers have a little bit more oomph to this one, but this one just really isn't cutting it for me. I'm not a big fan of it at all. Yeah, sealed decks only, and I'm not sure what kind of draft deck would want to play this at all. Next up, we have got a wild card here. This is Fraying Omnipotence. 3 black sorcery at rare. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the creatures they control. Round up each time. So I guess there's a combo here with the Spectre here, you know, making this card a bunch of cards. This card is not very good. I would not recommend playing this unless your opponent just has a massive board state. Nope, I can't even fake this one. This card's not very good. I'm sure there's some kind of cool, you know, casual EDH deck that wants to play a deck like this. You know, the sacrifice outlet's here, but like this is something you gotta like first pick and then just draft around the entire time. So that way when you fire this off, you're getting maximum value. And I don't know where that maximum value threshold actually sits with this. I mean, I need to be well ahead in the life race, well ahead on cards, you know, or low on cards, you know, so this doesn't hurt me all that much. This is a weird sort of black and white card here. Like there's no middle ground, I don't think. I'm going to pass this one every single time. It's going to table a lot, so yeah, pass on the Fraying Omnipotence. You got to be crazy to play this one. Next up, we've got Gravedigger, 3 in a black, who's a zombie. 4.5, we're getting there. Uncommon 2/2. As it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And now this is one of the best black sort of like core set staples that we have out there. I forget the zombify effect. There we go. Zombify actually puts it back in your hand. Or maybe that's actually just putting it into play. I forget the terminology there. This card is just good. You know, I'll happily take this in any black deck I've been playing, draft or sealed. I'm going to have something in the graveyard that I want to get back. This is going to get there. And he beats down pretty well too. He's a 2/2. Perfectly fine. And if you get the reanimation combat trick we just already looked at the beginning of the set, pretty cool too. So Gravedigger, awesome. And followed up by another zombie, Graveyard Marshal. Black creature, zombie soldier at rare. Gonna go count him down there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 zombies now. 3/2, and you can pay 2 in a black, exile a creature card from your graveyard, and create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. You know what? I'm gonna give this guy the other half of Doom to Center, bring us up to a full 6 zombies. It's my rules. Fight me. Yeah, this card's insane. The casting cost is a little awkward, but for the power you're getting out of this, it's kind of unreal. You know, late in the game, as your graveyard's been filling up, just paying that mana ability, just get more and more zombies out of the graveyard, makes this thing an absolute must answer, or it's probably going to swarm the battlefield very, very quickly for your opponents. It's a good thing you can't target your opponent's graveyard, because that's when this thing goes from good to absolutely great. I will first pick this in limited, draft, or sealed. Every black deck I'm playing will play this guy in, you know, regardless, I think. Very, very powerful card. I like it a lot. Next up, we've got the Hired Blade, 2 and a black human assassin common, 3/2 with flash. Black creatures don't get flash. I'm trying to think of another one. Down in the comments, guys, let me know if you can think of a black creature aside from Hired Blade here that has flash. Like, I get the theme. It's an assassin. That's pretty sick. I like that. But wow, if you want them dead, buy some poison. If you want them to have the worst day of their life before dying, then let's talk price. And the price is 2 and a black, and it gets you a 3/2. This thing's super neat though. Super aggressive. End of their turn, flash this guy in. That sounds weird in black again. I like this guy a lot actually. He trades well. His stats are well costed. With a decent combat trick, he gets even better. Super powerful card right here, especially at common. Mid-pack take for me. Maybe not all of my black limited sealed decks, but a good number of them will play Hired Blade here. And yeah, the art just looks cool. You know, hiding behind the background, he's gonna get you. So yeah, Hired Blade, pretty solid card right there. Like it a lot. Next up, we've got M19. I want to say. I could be wrong. This is the Infectious Horror, 3 and a black. It gets you a 2/2 common zombie horror. Zombie. Oh yeah, we're doing good now. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses 2 life. Ooh, I think this is actually from Alara block, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different card that did the same effect, maybe in red. But yeah, this card is actually kind of scary. It's a good curve topper in a black aggressive deck that your opponent must deal with, because I am not afraid to turn this sideways every single time, because it will get through, whether it's by its own trigger or the damage. And if it deals the damage, it's also triggering itself. This thing is worth 4 points of damage. So you keep the board clean or get this guy through with a pump spell. Super scary stuff. Very, very powerful card. A little overcosted for its stats, but the effect more than makes up for it. Very aggressive black-red decks will take this. I would even say that most mid-rangey black decks would want to play an effect like this when you just have to burn out those last 2 points of damage. Reach in black should never be discounted, and that's why. And I will always play Infectious Horror for that very reason, and the fact that I think he's just gonna eat me if I don't play him. So help. Next up, we have Infernal Reckoning, a single black instant at rare, exiles target colorless creature, and you gain life equal to its power. Clearly, this is not built for limited play. There's a handful of colorless creatures in this set, but I'm not firing this thing off at any of them, that's for sure. This is most definitely for legacy, modern, you know, commander play, where everybody's playing giant Eldrazi's, and you just want to gain some life sometimes. That's all you're looking for here. Other than that, you're not going to play this in limited whatsoever. So yeah, moving right along. That's cool. I think this is Ob Nixilis actually here. That's really cool art, and there's the crushing of the Eldrazi guy there. Just pretty sick right there. Next up, we have Infernal Scarring, another core set reprint, if I'm not mistaken. 1 in a black enchantment aura at common, enchants a creature, gives it +2/+0, and has, whenever the creature dies, draw a card, as if you wanted your black creatures to have even more value than they already did. This is going to go great in an aggressive black-based deck. I will slap this on any little beater, whether it's Child of Night or Diregraph Ghoul, whoever it is, they're going to get slapped with this thing on there. And yes, I know if they have the removal spell or the bounce spell, you look like a fool for playing into it, but sometimes they don't have it, and it's glorious, and then you draw a card and they finally do manage to kill it. Value. Aggressive black decks will love this card, and that's about it, though. Next up, we have Isareth? Yeah, Isareth, the Awakener, who I believe has a bird on her head. Fashion and magic is weird, guys. And gals. It's just weird. Legendary creature, human wizard, rare, 3/3 with a wall of text. Death Touch. Whenever Isareth, the Awakener, attacks, you may pay X. When you do, return target creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield with a corpse counter on it. If that creature will leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. This is really powerful. This is a very powerful card. Being 3 mana at 3/3 is really good stats, whether it's in an aggressive deck or a mid-rangey deck for sealed or whatever archetype you're playing, black, with black cards in it, obviously, to get back literally anything, as long as you can pay the mana cost for it, is incredibly powerful. And there aren't a ton of effects in this set that actually get cards out of the graveyard beyond like Gravedigger, and another card we'll get to in just a minute here, Macabre Waltz. The ability to get things out of your graveyard are few and far between, especially when they're creatures. So I'm happy to, attack with, you have to put her in danger, unfortunately, which is kind of, a downside to her. But I think just being the threat to get whatever you want creature-wise out of your graveyard will make your opponent respect her quite a bit, make some unprofitable blocks, some awkward trades. There's some value to be had here, and you can always just kind of leave her back on defense and just have her block, and then maybe get a creature out, at some point in the late game. It does kind of suck that's not attacking with her, but, what else can you do? Super powerful card here, though. Any kind of black deck, like I said, we'll take this, draft or sealed. Very cool stuff. Next up, we've got bread and butter removal, ladies and gentlemen. We got Lich's Caress. 3 black sorcery at common, destroys target creature, and you gain 3 life. I will snap this up in a heartbeat if the rare and the uncommons suck, because you cannot beat good old black removal, especially unconditional. I mean, we've seen things like Cast Down, which require you to have it be, non-legendary. Doomblade requires it to be non-black. Go for the Throw is a non-artifact. Victim of Night is a non-vampire werewolf zombie card. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into these cards, that make them worse and worse and worse than your typical removal spells. But to have just common removal like this is absolutely a staple in Black's wheelhouse for limited. I will take this in any black deck I'm playing so far. And the little life gain there is nothing to scoff at either. Pretty cool stuff, a little overcosted, but you'll definitely play this in every black deck. Unlike our next card. Oh boy. Liliana, Untouched by Death. Super sick name, but what does she do? 2 black, legendary planeswalker, Liliana, mythic rare, 4 starting loyalty, +1. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Okay, I'm with it so far. -2. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. Okay. -3. Oh, so she can ultimate the turn she comes down. That's interesting. You may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. Okay. Having now seen that we have 7 technically 5, 6 actually, 6 playable zombies in this format for limited specifically. Standard applications aside, which I do think that she might go in a mono black or very heavily black zombie deck. I'm gonna need like 4, 5, 6 as many zombies as I can possibly get into my deck before I even touch Liliana. Not that I wouldn't want to do that in. Never mind. So yeah, because she is so, built around, she requires you to have a mass of zombies to build around her. Her stock goes way down when it comes to just playing her in just any black deck. Even the removal aspect of her is not very good with a mass number of zombies. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put a big hard pass on Liliana here, unless you've just got a really good zombie deck that you've already, first picking Liliana and then taking all the zombies. or just having a bunch of zombies and then opening her, sure, you might get there sometimes, but she's so narrow in her application, and it really hurts to see core set planeswalkers have that, you know, mark against them. Typically, it's the standard set, the non-core set planeswalkers who really make you work for their power. She's the first, as far as I can think of, you know, who says, I need you to have a certain type of deck to play me in, and that's a huge knock against her. You know, despite being a really cool card, really powerful, but in limited, I'm going to say hard pass unless you've already got the deck to build around her. And that's going to be no easy feat either, because a lot of the zombies that you want... Oh, and we're looking at zombies and skeletons here, so it's even less. Whoops. Okay, moving right along to Liliana's Contract. We're going 2 for 2 on unplayable Liliana cards for people. 3 black enchantment. Rare, when it enters the battlefield, you lose 4 life and draw 4 cards. Okay, that's actually pretty damn powerful. I retract my first statement about this card being unplayable. That's a very powerful effect in the mid to late game. Slamming this, if you've got some life buffer, maybe you've already cast a Lich's Caress or something, you've attacked with Child of Night, you've got some life to work with, and that's 4, well, I won't say free, it's 5 mana worth of cards here. It's the other effect, though. It's at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. Would you like to guess how many demons are in this set? Uno. Just 1. And Demon of Catastrophes is it. You cannot pull this off in limited. So this is literally just a 5 mana draw 4, lose 4. So that's perfectly reasonable on its own. Just I hate when they do this. Like, literally, it's impossible. This is up there with Hedron Alignments. Less impossible than this, but still pretty damn close. So yeah, lose 4, draw 4, cool. But other than that, pretty weak. Most mid-rangey black decks will want to play this, but there's no aggro deck out there. Maybe the aggro decks might want this too. I don't know. This one's a little bit iffy, actually. So TBD on this one. I might be discounting this one just a little bit too much. Next up, we have Macabre Waltz. 1 in a black sorcery common. Return up to 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand, and then discard a card. So, good to throw out lands from your hand. Get back some of your beaters. This is a very powerful card, actually. It's deceptively powerful, actually. So if you're playing a really aggressive black deck, and you've got some of your better beaters in the graveyard already, this is a good way to get them back in the mid to late game when you might be running out of gas and you've got some extra lands in your hand. Or even just, you know, mid-rangey black decks will want this as too. Just be able to get back their biggest bombs like the Bone Dragon or whatever else you've got in your graveyard at the cost of 2 mana and a card. Like, these are really powerful effects here, and this is what black wants to do, is grind out the attrition game, and to the point where your opponent's just like, I've literally exhausted all of my resources, and you're literally coming back for more because you can't seem to run out of resources. Like, your graveyard is almost an extension of your hand in your deck. That's what black wants to do. This is a super cool card. You know, just it needs a little bit of it's a tiny bit build around me, but I definitely want to have enough targets in the graveyard that are impactful enough to not just get back like a couple of, you know, dorks or whatever. Powerful card, needs a little support though. Next up, one of the most beautiful arts for Mind Rot ever. This does go with the Spectre, obviously, but again, you know, we're talking about comboing things that, you know, with a Spectre that doesn't already, whatever. 2 in a black, target player discards 2 cards. Common. This card is, you know, some players look at this and just go, meh, whatever. In Sealed, this is incredibly powerful stuff here, so I'm not going to, like, main deck a bunch of these. But 1 or 2, I'm not afraid to put. Afraid to play any of these, just because in the mid to late game, maybe your opponent hasn't drawn like the last time they need to cast their big spell, or, you know, they need to draw, you know, lands to cast anything, and all of a sudden you just mind rot their hand away. I mean, it's no Mind Twist, which, you know, would be utterly disgusting to have that come back. But Mind Rot's perfectly playable here. only the mid-rangey black decks will want this. Aggro decks can probably leave this in the sideboard. Beyond that, really cool card here. And again, I love the art on this Minor. I believe that is No, it's not Chandra. I forget what the art's from. But yeah, Minot's super cool here. Very situational. The better players will know how powerful this card is, and learn from those who cast this against you, and when they cast it against you, and you'll be able to learn from those guys. So very cool stuff here. Next up we have Murder. 1 black uncommon, instant destroy target creature dead. I kind of wish they had just put it dead center with no flavor text, but what can you do? What can you say about Murder? Who wants to play Murder? Who likes Sherlock? Great show. Yeah, Murder's awesome. First pick, every black deck, aggro, mid-range, control, don't care. Take as many as you can get. Murder is awesome. Not real murder. Murder's bad. Murder's illegal, but Murder the card. Good. Play that one. Don't murder people. Just saying. Next up we have Nightmare Thirst, and oh my god, what is going on in this art? This little guy is just like, I'm gonna eat your face. A single black instant. At uncommon, you gain 1 life. Target creature gets -X/-X until the end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. Wow. So this card's pretty cool. There needs to be an abundance of 1 toughness creatures to just make this be a little bit powerful. Unlike most combat tricks, this is actually something I would call a post-combat trick, and a post-modernism. We're getting into post-modern magic here, people. This is a post-combat trick. So let's say that you've attacked with Child of Night, you gain some life, then you fire this off and maybe finish off their 3/3 or their bigger creature they didn't quite finish off. This one is going to take a little bit of strategery to really get the most benefit out of. But let's say that you can gain a ton of life, and you can just kill some very big things with this card. Very powerful stuff indeed. Just need to be careful with it. Aggressive decks will definitely want this to be in their decks. Maybe not so much the mid-rangey black decks. I'm not seeing it quite there, but things that have like a lot of Child of Nights will definitely get some mileage out of this card for sure. Next up we have Open the Graves. 3 black enchantment at rare. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. It was a knight like any other. It would soon become a night no one would ever forget. Ooh. God. That's like some really bad, like mid-2000s emo rock right there. Love it. This card's pretty powerful, actually. This is a good top end in your black aggressive, or hell, any black deck that has a bunch of creatures in it. Just start turning sideways after you play this, and your opponent's just gonna have to go, well, I can't really, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And what can be more black than that? It's a good thing that this is not making tapped zombies, because that turns into kind of an embarrassing play when you wipe your board on accident. Powerful stuff here. Definitely needs to be built around, play it on the turn where you can get maximum advantage out of it. But just the longer the game goes and the more creatures that you control die, not bad here. Pretty cool stuff. Next up, we've got a good returning favorite. This is Phylactery Lich. I think M10 was the last time we saw this. Black, 5/5 zombie. Oops, zombie count. Whoop. Fun. Rare, indestructible. As Phylactery Lich enters the battlefield, put a phylactery counter. If you know what phylactery means, good on you. These are hard words, people. Phylactery counter on an artifact you control. When you control no permanents with phylactery counters on them, sacrifice phylactery Lich. So here's the problem with this guy. Yes, he's indestructible, but he does require you to play artifacts. Whether or not the artifacts in this set are any good, we'll get to those. So if you curve him into an artifact, plenty powerful, but let's hope that your opponent doesn't disperse said artifact when you cast this. Awkward. Still, cool card though. Definitely want to have to first pick this and then find the cards to go around it, and hopefully you can find enough good artifacts that can actually make your deck. Pretty solid here for an aggressive black deck. The triple black is no joke to cast though. You know, we're talking like Phyrexian Obliterator, tricky to cast here. You know, Geralt's Messenger, tricky to cast here. You're going to be almost mono black for this guy to work here. But if you can build around it and have the support you need to cast this thing and actually keep it around, there's nothing in this set that exiles, I don't think. I don't remember seeing any in whites. So this guy's going to be around for a long time, as long as that artifact can stick around as well. Next up we have Plague Mare. More horsies. 1 black, Nightmare Horse, uncommon, 2/2, can't be blocked by white creatures. Awesome. Whenever it enters the battlefield, target creatures your opponent control get -1/-. Oh my god. It's the Black Goblin Chain Whirler. Son of a bitch, Wizards. Although, seriously, guys, this card's really cool. Against white decks, this is going to be an absolute house. A lot of the white creatures are susceptible to this, as are, well, actually, there's a good number of creatures in this set that are actually susceptible to this. And 3-mana 2/2s are nothing to scoff at, especially when you've got extra abilities tacked on here. I can see our Plague Mare going the distance against a lot of decks. Very cool stuff right here. Early aggro decks and late game mid-range decks definitely take advantage of this, especially if it's like a pseudo board wipe. Really cool stuff right here. Not as cool as what I think is probably one of my favorite cards in the whole set. I don't know why, but I'm drawn to this guy, but I just love Ravenous Harpy. 2 and a black, creature harpy, uncommon, 1/2 flying, pay 1, sacrifice another creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on Ravenous Harpy. So if you have that with the zombie enchantment, this thing gets out of control. I don't know why I like this card so much. There's just something horribly evocative about the art here. It's just so bitchin'. I don't have a better word for it other than bitchin'. Which just sounds so dumb. But yeah, this is a really cool way to, you know, if your opponent has a creature that's just going to barrel through your board and you just have like some chump blockers, or hell, if you've got our next card turning resembling skeleton to go along with it, just saying, there's something here, I think. So Ravenous Harpy, really, really powerful. If you don't respect this thing, I would almost guarantee that's going to kill you. Pray they don't have bounce spells when you put a bunch of counters on it. Go from there. Really cool card here. Aggressive black decks and even the more mid-rangey black decks will love this. Next up, we have Reassembling Skeleton. 1 and a black, uncommon, skeleton. Count's going up, people. 1/1, pay 1 and a black, return Reassembling Skeleton from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. At instant speed, no less. This is a super cool card here. Obviously, the tapped clause on it kind of hurts it a little bit, but I don't think it's a huge strike against it. Good blocker in the early game for the mid-rangey black decks. Good early attacker for good black aggro decks. I would play this in just about any black deck that I put together, whether it's draft or sealed. Fun fact about this card, actually, I used to play this in standard in a little deck I called Zombie Blade. It was kind of like Caw Blade, just without the Caw. It was blue-black and didn't have, yeah. The idea was you could play the swords and, you know, constantly have a threat to keep attacking with. It's, in my mind, this was the Black Squadron Hawk. Those were many, many years ago. I know. Moving right along. We have Rise from the Grave. 4 and a black, sorcery, add uncommon. Put target creature card from a graveyard, not just your graveyard, a graveyard, under your control. That creature is a black zombie, so another half zombie mark, in addition to its other colors and types. Pretty solid little card here. Late game, again, this is black's bread and butter. When the attrition game is going long, this is where black wants to be, and this is where you will lose to black. Your best creature is now their best creature. Their best creature is now their best creature again. Little costly at 5 here, but you know what they say, death is no excuse for disobedience. Super powerful card right here. Very, very cool stuff. Definitely play this on a lot of decks I'm going to be drafting for black. Maybe not aggro, but any other black deck, happy to have this. Next up, we have Skeleton Archer. Look at that. Another skeleton. 3 and a black, 3/3, common Skeleton Archer, who is getting a subclass now. When he enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target. This card is pretty freaking cool, actually. It's good. Again, more post-combat tricking here. Or just to like mow down little 1 toughness creatures before you swing in for the kill. 4 mana 3/3s are already good. 4 mana 3/3s with abilities are even better. So Skeleton Archer, awesome stuff here. A little bit more mid-rangey of a threat, but still a very powerful card indeed. I like this guy a lot, and that art is just super sick here. I bet the following on that is going to look really, really nice. Next up, we have Skymarch Bloodletter. 2 and a black, 2/2 at common Vampire Soldier, returning from Ixalan, if I'm not mistaken. And it flies, and when it enters battlefield, target opponent loses a life, and you gain a life. There's more of that life-gaining effects in black. 3 mana, 2/2 flyers. Awesome stuff here, as we've already discussed. In blue, in white, in black, hell, even in red when you have little dragon whelps. 3 mana 2/2 flyers are no joke. And when they have a little extra bonus attached to them, like this guy here, all the better. Or this gal? Maybe he has a mustache. I can't quite tell. But yeah, the Bloodletter here, super powerful card here for your black aggressive decks. Even black mid-range decks will want to play this. Again, I keep saying, there doesn't seem to be a bad card, there doesn't seem to be a purely aggro card versus a purely control card. Like I said, guys, the delta is shrinking. Every card I think you can make an excuse to play, and it really tests your skill as a player, not just the cards. Yeah, sometimes you're going to lose to a bomb, planeswalker, or dragon, but at the end of the day, the better player with the better deck will always win. And that's what I hope that you guys are getting from these reviews here. Is just the knowledge of what cards are good and how you should be applying them, and not just throwing them into just random decks. So, moment of truth there for you guys. The more you know. Bum, 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 bum. Next up, we have Sovereign's Bite. 1 and a black sorcery at common. Target player loses 3 life, and you gain that life right back. So again, more elegance, even a vampire on the art. It's really hard to miss this stuff, guys. Really hard. Black Reach, pretty good. This is not removal, obviously, unless it's your opponent's at 3 life. Best in the black aggressive decks for sure. Probably nothing else other than that. Most of your opponent, like if your opponent starts to like brick wall all of your smaller creatures, you get through those last few shots of damage and then fire them off with Sovereign's Bite. That's probably where you want this card, and not much else. Still plenty good, and as soon as your opponent gets to low enough life totals, kind of like in Modern Burn, they gotta respect being at 3. Moving right along, coming up to our last few black cards here, we have Stitcher's Supplier. A single black gets you an uncommon 1/1 as it enters the battlefield or dies. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, because Dredge didn't need any more tools, right? Anyway. Yeah, oh look, it's a zombie! This is my favorite part of the whole review right now, is just the zombie counts. All the counters. Every color is going to have a counter, henceforth, of some kind, I promise you that. So this guy's plenty cool. If you are playing like a graveyard-based deck, I think this is going to be a key piece of that. I don't know if you're going to want to play this in limited, unless you have a lot of recursive effects in your deck, like Macabre Waltz and Rise from the Grave. I don't think you're going to want this very highly. Now, that being said, if there is an aggressive black, heavy black zombie deck in Standard, I can almost guarantee you the Supplier here will be a part of that, because this will actually fuel Liliana, Untouched by Death, quite a bit. That's 6 cards for 1 mana, as long as your opponent blocks. And 1 mana 1/1's typically nothing to scoff at. And this guy, does a lot of work, actually. So, powerful card. I just don't think it limited, unless you just have the bonkers zombie deck with a Liliana in there and some good recursive elements. Not super happy with this one, but if the power level is there, just not for limited play. Unlike our next card, which is just more bread and butter black removal. Strangling Spores, 3 and a black, common instant. Target creature gets -3/-3 until the end of turn. This reminds me of that scene from Upgrade, if you guys saw that. If you didn't, you should go fix that. Where the main antagonist, or so you think he is, sneezes at a good guy, and his mucus has little deadly robots in it. Target creature gets -3/-3 until the end of turn. This will kill most everything in this set, save for the bigger mythic rares and rares, you know, obviously. But at 4 mana, you can't do much better than this. You know, much like Eviscerate, this is where your removal kind of starts in this format, at least at common. So, you know, pick this highly, whether you're aggressive, whether you're more of a control deck, and just be happy when you fire this off and you kill something. Maybe it needs to be a combat trick, post-combat trick. There's that term again, guys. Trademark, hashtag postmodern combat tricks. Yeah, super cool card here. Always playable, but definitely built strictly for limited play only. Next up, we have the two-headed zombie. Do I give it 2 because it has 2 heads? Nah, I think that's actually cheating at that point. 3 to black zombie at common. It has menace, so it can't be blocked except by 2 more creatures. And it's a 4/2, so this is definitely in the more aggressive camp when it comes to. Oh, this one's cool. This one's actually got some push and pull to it, actually. So in your aggressive black decks, it's going to come down, you know, right at the top of your curve and start beating down and force your opponent to trade at least 1, if not 2 creatures. Especially if you have this backed up by pump spells of any kind, this will force them to trade off some creatures. On the flip side, if you're in a more mid-rangey control deck and you've got things like Strangling Spores or just other removal, be it black, red, or white, this could just go the distance. And because your opponent only has 1 creature in play, that they just can't keep a creature in play other than that one, or hell, no creatures, this will kill them very quickly, actually. So I'm a fan of cards like this that can really play sort of that dual role, you know, whether you're aggressive or more mid-range deck. And again, goes back to that point I already made, the delta is closing. And a lot of decks can play a lot of different cards, so know your range. And this is a good card to demonstrate that. Very cool card. And the art's just... Oh, he's got 3 hands! Because he's got... Oh, this is so creepy. Oh... Next up, we've got. Oh my! Does this have 2? Oh no, it only has 1 head. His shoulder looked like a smiling little lizard head. Oh, I've been playing too much Bloodborne, guys. Flat out, guys and gals, too much Bloodborne. Good for the soul, bad for the mind. Single black common 0/3 vampire. Pay 2 and tap it. Each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Ooh, hello. Late game finisher in your control deck. Early game blocker in your aggro deck to finish off the last few points of life of your opponents. More life gain for the black-white life gain deck. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this again. Flexible, know your role, put it in the deck and play it when you can and get the most benefit out of it. And yeah, 0/3 is blocked for a good long time. Cool stuff. Next up, we've got Vampire Sovereign. Again, I believe Amonkhet. No. Ixalan, gosh. 3 black, flying 3/4 uncommon vampire. When Vampire Sovereign enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Yeah, awesome. 5 mana, 3/4 flyers. Awesome stats already. And just, you know, that extra bit of reach right there, awesome. Top of the curve in your black aggressive deck, awesome. Top of the curve in your black mid-range deck, backed up by removal, awesome. Again, role players in all kinds of decks. Just got to know the role and where to put it in. Very powerful card here. And last but not least, Walking Corpse. Another zombie. 1 in the black, 2/2 zombie at common. That's a massive all flavor text. Yeah, the beatdown decks will want this and not much else. Doesn't really play, you know, defense all that well. This is a creature you want to turn sideways. And yeah, black aggressive decks for more zombie decks. So yeah, that is the end of our black cards. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Final zombie count. Drum roll, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 and a half zombie and or skeleton cards in black. So, Death Baron and no Slatch apparently. So, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I will be back later with this week with the rest of the set review. We've got the green cards, the red cards, the gold, and the artifacts, and the lands for that matter, still to go. The pre-release is this weekend. So get ready. Let me know in the comments what's your favorite color is so far. What are you hoping to build and sealed? What are you hoping to open in your draft decks? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tomorrow's my birthday, so if you guys want to say a little shout out to me, wouldn't go amiss. So thanks for watching, guys, and have a great night.